Here we go. Wow, Shalom Avrocha Rabbi all the way from there, Yisrael.
No, you're not. Should I mute you?
No, he needs to mute himself.
I said, yeah, mute me.
Turn the volume off.
Okay, just turn the volume off.
Okay, Rabbi here we go. We're learning Torah Aleph, and Rav Nachman said that all of the tefillas and all of our bakoshas, everything that we yearn for and we desire, like, what do you really want in this world? What do we really deeply, deeply want? All of that becomes answered when we have Torah. In the same way that you want to give something to somebody when they have grace, when they're filled with this chen, they're favorable in your eyes, you're attracted to them. So Hashem says the same thing about Klal Yisrael. When you have grace, when you have chen, which is Torah, like the pasuk said, Ayeles ahavim v'yalas chen, a beloved doe, a graceful gazelle, and the Gemara there says, Shema lechein aloim dea. When you learn Torah, it brings a certain beauty to the one that learns it. You're ingesting the wisdom of Hashem. So it brings a grace. And we said that nowadays that the grace, the chen and the chashivas has gone elsewhere. It's Eitzlam. Has been taken, has been hijacked. And therefore the world doesn't necessarily see the beauty. And someone will say, if someone tells their parents, I'm thinking about going to learn in Yeshivas Mir. Says, I wish you would have gone to Harvard. And Mir is not. You're going to be swimming in a world of Torah, Yom V'Layla. That's only because the chen, the chashivas of Yisrael has dropped and is eitzlam. So we need to bring that chen and that chashivas back, to bring it back mamish. And we said this is all done by finding the seichel shebachol davar. Is that a Jew has to look and see what does Hashem want from me in every single situation. Everything. This is the ultimate Torah, is finding Hashem. What is the mission that you have for me in every situation? Why did that person come into my life? Why am I sitting here at this time? Why did the Gabbai get these particular Nespresso flavors? It's all, why are we going to Costa Rica and this one's going to Guatemala? Why did I pick that? It's all a seichel shebachol davar. There's an or, there's a message. And we said this is the power of Yaakov, because Yaakov has the Bechor. Yaakov Avinu took the Bechor means the beginning. The seichel shebachol davar is the beginning, is the point of origin of every single thing, of why is this thing here? Why is the whole world here? Excuse me. Why is the whole world here? As Yaakov Avinu, Yaakov is always looking for the seichel shebachol davar. He's looking for the point of origin. And we said that's the chachma. That's the chachma of any given thing. And the Yid's always looking for the chachma in every single thing. But we're going to see, and this is represented by the letter ches. And ches is a very, very big or. Ches is chiyas. Ches is very, very high level energy. That's ches, that's chiyas. We said though that sometimes it's hard to see the light in everything. It could overwhelm you. It's like looking at the sun. A little bit too strong. It's like what the tzaddikim live in. They live in a world where they see everything the way that it really is. And we said many times that the Baal Tanya, when he was on his deathbed, so he was looking up at the ceiling, and he asked his grandson, he said, so what do you see when you look up at the ceiling of the cabin? He says, Zaidi, I see beams. I see beams that are making up the roof. He said, what do you see, Zaidi? He said, I see the Hebrew letters that are shining in and out of existence and creating the beams, something from nothing every second. I see the origin point of the beams. Now, it might be hard for you to operate if you're walking around and you're just seeing Hebrew letters everywhere. even though that's the reality of it, and the tzaddikim are doing this. But here the Rebbe is going to say is that just to see the seichel shebachol davar is very, very powerful. It can overwhelm a person. And we need to be able to relate and integrate this great light. So how are we going to integrate this great light? So the answer is this next chelik. The next chelik is going to be Malchus. Okay, here we go. Because the light of the seichel is so great. It's this great supernal light. And if you really saw the world from that perspective, you'd be in a tremendous place of revelation. We know the Zohar says that in the plague of darkness, how did you guys grow up? The plague of darkness was like you had books, the story books, and they had like people, a couple, the mitzvah were like frozen in the middle of the dark, and then for the Jews, there was light in their dwelling places. So the Zohar says that's not exactly accurate. That the plague of darkness wasn't that it got dark. The plague of darkness was that it got very bright. And those that couldn't handle the brightness were blinded. It became dark to them. It became dark. That was the plague of Choshech. It was ribui or. So for a person just to experience Chachma without the Kalim is like tremendous, powerful, creative light. And it might be too much for him. It's such a deep, deep, powerful light. And specifically because we have fleishike brains, and fleishike, we're made up of physicality, and we're so identified with physicality that when that light comes to a person, it's like he doesn't know what to do with it. That great light. This light of Chachma makes everything clear to you. Everything. But it's very powerful. You ever have a moment where everything is clear? It just means that you're going to have to delete Netflix. And you know that at that moment, and you're like, I don't know if I'm willing to do that. But you got it, it's like it overwhelmed you, and I can't ever be the same person ever again. That's like a light of Chachma that just blasts into you. So how do we integrate this light? If this light is so powerful, Ki'im al yidei bechinas nun. We need the letter nun. So we have the ches, which is chachma, and now we're adding a nun, which is chen. That's the chen. And what's the function of the nun? Shehu bechinas malchus. Malchus means a vessel in order to receive that light. Malchus, we're going to see, you can't look at the sun, but the moon you can. And the moon is just the light that's reflecting from the sun. And the moon is very beautiful, the moonlight. And when you go on a date, it's better to go under the moonlight than under the sunlight. The sun is very intense, it's very bright. Many people would prefer to go on a date at night, under the moonlight. Because that's taking this great light and integrating it in a way that I could relate to you. It's the whole experience of the moon is a different type of beauty. The sun is very powerful, and it's obviously necessary. You don't have anything without the sun. That's chachma. Nothing begins. But as far as integrating, as far as living, you need the moon. So here we go. Kamoy shekasav lifnei shemesh yinain shemai. There's a pasuk in Tehillim. King David teaches us that lifnei shemesh, as long as the sun is shining, yinon shemo. I think the direct translation, may his name connote malchus. As long as the sun is shining, meaning in so much as there's a shining sun, which is pretty consistent, his name will mean malchus. Now this is a pasuk referring also to Mashiach. This pasuk is referring to Mashiach, and Rashi there says, Yinon Loshen Malchus. Yinon is another name for Mashiach. So we have this great sun that's shining, and we need to integrate it with Yinon. You see the juxtaposition in the verse. We have Shemesh and then Yinon. And of course, Yinon is a Nun. Is the letter Nun. So, the way the Rebbe is darshing the pasuk is like this: Lifnei Shemesh, which is Chachma, i.e., before you get Shemesh, before you get that level of Or, what do you need? Yinon. You need to start with Yinon. You need to start with Malchus. Let's talk about Malchus. Malchus generally means, and we're going to see there's two types of Malchus. Whenever you have anything in Torah, there's always the side of holiness and the side of impurity. So on the side of holiness, it's always fascinating. A Jewish king has to write a separate, every single Jew has to write a Sefer Torah, as a mitzvah of writing his own Sefer Torah. You guys better get going. Mm-hmm. Some say if you donate a Sefer Torah, or if you write a letter in a Sefer Torah, but others feel they want to mamish write, they want to do the whole thing. But a king has a separate mitzvah to write another Sefer Torah that he keeps on his arm. The Gemara talks about where does he put his tefillin if the Sefer Torah is there, and he goes everywhere with the Sefer Torah. Mamish. Wherever he goes, he has the Sefer Torah. What's the message that the Jewish king should have a Sefer Torah? Because what he's saying is that I don't run this show. I'm only taking orders from you, Hashem. From the Melech Malchei HaMelachim. I don't budge without consulting this book. Most people think I don't budge without consulting these biceps. See what they're telling me to do today. The king says, I don't budge. If anything is off from Torah, it's not happening. So really, holy Malchus is totally just being given over to a higher source. It's bittul. Even though you would think the king is the most powerful person in the Jewish people, and he is, but he's also the most humble. He doesn't budge without Hashem, what do you want me to do? And he consults the Torah. Whereas kingship on the side of unholiness is all about gaiva. It's all about how can I expand my kingdom and how can I move my borders, and that's unholy Malchus. A person has to be careful of that. Holy Malchus is a person who's nullified to a higher source. Unholy Malchus is the exact opposite. Like, just picture these old drunken kings, tearing off Avram and Achai and just, drinking. Pardon? Achashverosh, mamish. It's all gaiva. Just showing the world, flexing, just all the things that he stole and pillaged and raped, and then asking Vashti to come in like that, to compare his wife with all the other women. Just such gaiva. But for Jewish Malchus, for holy Malchus, it means the Melech only listens to what Hashem wants. That's why big tzaddikim have Malchus. Because big tzaddikim don't budge without consulting the Torah, what does Hashem want? They know from the Mishnah that Ritzoynenu lasos Ritzoyncha, that all I want to do is your Ratzon. I don't have any other Ratzon of my own. I only want to do what you want, Hashem. And you don't become less of yourself, become more. Because your true Ratzon, coming through your Shirish Neshama, is just to do what Hashem wants. That's why if you ever notice big tzaddikim, you would think that they should look more robotic. Like those pictures, like I support the latest thing, and like they all look like these robots. So you would think tzaddikim, they know the whole Torah, so they should literally look robotic, all of them doing the exact same thing. But the contrary, the bigger the Rabbanim are, the more unique and colorful they are. Because they know the whole Torah as it's coming through their neshama. People are only less themselves and just robotic if they're just following the trends of the day. But the deep Ratzon of the Yid is Ritzayneinu Lasos Ritzayncha. I remember being at the Kaisa one time, Rav Addis was there, as he usually is. And there was another very chashuv Rav. And a very, neat, put together, Meshach ben Yosef, nice beard, everything, and then Rav Adis. So Rav Adis is mamish going off to this Rav about some Inyan in Kabbalah or something, like jumping and screaming, and this Rav is just like, Like he was taking it all in. Rav Adis is screaming, he's just taking it in. And they had such mutual love and respect for each other, except they were totally different in their way of experiencing Torah. One was like a certain, regal and royal, and Rav Adis is like, he's living in Chachma. He's mamish up there in Chachma. When you're really in Chachma, it says that things happen so fast that you don't even have time to write them down. That's what Rav Nachman, they said, that he was living, that Nachal Noiveh Mekor Chachma, that there's a river flowing out from Chachma. He lived in that place. And therefore, as soon as he would have an idea, a chiddush to write down, it was already old news. So it was like, I can't even write something down because there's already a new flow of Chachma flowing through. Like, how could I even write it down?
Rav Nassim comes in.
That's Rav Nassim. Rav Nassim is the Malchus to Rav Nachman's Chachma. He brought the Chaim. And then there's Baruch Hashem, I heard Moshe Weinberger say that Rav Chaim Kramer is the Rav Nassim to Rav Nassim, who wrote all the Breslov Research Institute, who mamish took Breslov and put it like Shavel Kol Nefesh mamish. And that you always need another Malchus that can reflect that light. So back to unholy Malchus. Unholy Malchus is always trying to steal and pillage and Hashem Yirachem. And if you've learned the story of the last princess, which all of Breslov is just a parish of that story, the whole thing, that story is everything. Where the princess gets trapped by the no good one. And the whole inyan of a melech, of Ra, is that they take captives, they pull energy and they trap it. Because that inyan of, so to speak, capturing the princess gives power to the dark side. If some king, who's some evil king, did not capture the princess, you barely take him seriously. Like, we're not interested in you. You don't have any power. You're a nobody. As soon as they do something horrible like that, they grab the princess. So every single video game that you probably ever played was going and rescuing the princess, because it's so deep in the psyche of the human, and it's all from the Zohar, is that the no good melech traps that energy, which is the Shechina, holds onto it, and it builds the gaiva. That's why when the princess is by the dark side has power now. People are interested in it. They're on the map, because we have to get her out. It pumps up. That's right. So that rishus of trapping and grabbing builds up the dark side, builds up the kingdom of darkness, whereas the kingdom of the Malchus of Kedusha is all about every move that I do, Hashem, is what do you want me to do? That's why the tzaddikim are so humble. You ever been to Reb Chaim's house? Is that so? Anybody ever went to Reb Chaim's house? He didn't even have a house. It was just, his home was just for the Jewish people. A bedroom, like you'd meet him, everyone's moving through, walking through, he had nothing of himself. He was just a public servant. The biggest tzaddikim are just public servants. Whereas to the contrary, on the side of the Malchus of Rishus, of evil Malchus, they're distant from the people. They're distant from the people. And this is what it means that the Chaim the Chashivas was trapped Eitzlam. Can you get access to some movie star? You could just go up to their house and make some yechidus to go hang out with them? No? You can't just pull up? Some athlete? No, he doesn't have Kabbalah's Kahal, where you come in with some mezainis and cookies, and he's just like, I'm here, I'm a public servant for the people. It's crazy. Why not? Make yourself available to the people. Whereas the biggest tzaddikim, the biggest rabbis, that's all they do. The older they get, the more they just give themselves to the Jewish people. They're less insular in themselves, and they just, like Rav Steinman Zatzal. My wife always tells me that, Rav Steinman basically just learned his whole life, and then when he was about 90, so he got a tap on the shoulder, and they said, you're the Gat Lador, and you have to go and, visit Jewish communities around the world. So he said, okay. He started going on planes at 90 and just touring around, visiting people, just being there. Okay, if that's what I need to do now. I was enjoying learning, but I guess I'm the Gat Lador, so someone's got to do it. And in Mamish, that's called Malchus of Kedusha, is just bottle to the needs of the cloud. Just going around, Mamish, whatever's needed. Not thinking like, but I'm already an old man, like I should just, retire in the Bahamas or something. That's the other side. As they say, you become less involved. Here you become more involved, more bittul. Okay? So what the Rebbe is teaching us here is in order to get this big, big ore, this big light of Chachma, this tremendous seichel shebechol davar, which just illuminates you and teaches you everything, the derech, the direction to get that is to go to Malchus. It's to go to Malchus, which means that you give yourself over to makabel ol Malchus Shamayim. You give yourself over to a higher source. Malchus would be, I didn't want to wake up in the morning, but Hashem says I should wake up, so I'm going to wake up. That's Malchus. I didn't want to do this because my instincts were telling me to eat something I shouldn't have eaten, but I'm makabel ol Malchus Shamayim, that Hashem says that I should eat kosher. That's Malchus. The Rebbe is teaching us that through the midah of Malchus, you'll be able to reflect this great light of Chochmah. You'll be able to live in this way like the tzaddikim live. So we do it through Malchus. The big tzaddikim could see it already in Chochmah. But for us, the light is too powerful. We get it through the moon. The light shines to the moon and we receive it that way. Just like the moon has no light of her own. She only has what she's receiving from the sun. Malchus is the idea of, I realize, leis le megar meklum, I don't have anything of myself. This is the world of David HaMelech. All I have, Hashem, is what you give me. That's David HaMelech. And that's why David HaMelech was not the smallest, he was the biggest. You know, he says, Ani toilea ve'ena ish, I'm like a worm, I'm not even a man. You're David HaMelech. We love David HaMelech. He's the greatest Yid ever. David HaMelech. So he didn't know who he was. He's a worm. He realized, though, that everything that I have is coming from the Eibishter. I have nothing else. Nothing. When does a Yid get in touch with this a lot? Malchus is tefillah. Tefillah. Malchus has another component. Malchus is when things aren't always clear. When things are muddled. I don't feel like doing this. I'm sick. I'm not in the mood. It's one thing when you're at a wedding and you're mamish in the zone and you have like and you're in it. But then there's many times that you just don't feel. You feel like you're out, you're burned out. You don't feel the excitement of a shachris, of a mincha, of a ma'ariv. So Malchus is, even through darkness, I'm still serving you. That's another component of Malchus. Even when I'm not feeling well, and I don't want to do something, I wasn't feeling well this one. I'm still not feeling well. And I'm thankful to Hashem that I feel like a little bit, even though my wife's probably going to yell at me for getting up so early, but there's an element of pushing through challenge. Pushing through the challenge.
Adversity.
That's right. Pushing through the challenge, which is a big element of Malchus, is that I know I'm not feeling it right now. And I'm still going to keep pushing forward. I'm still going to keep plugging away. It's a big, big part of Malchus. Which, you know why that's so powerful? It's very easy for a Yid, when everything is great and he sees the great or, to feel excited. That's very easy. So the emunah that's built when you're in the zone, and you're like, you're by the tzaddikim, and you just had an amazing Shabbaton, or you're in Sfat, you just got to the Ari's mikveh, and you're by the Baal Shem's mikveh, and Mezhbich, and you're in the zone. It's one thing to serve Hashem from that place. And it's very beautiful. But there's another thing that exactly when I don't feel it, Hashem, I'm telling you, I'm loyal to you, even when it's not clear that you're here. Which develops such a deep connection. Because it shows that our connection is not talui, doesn't depend just when you're in the mood and when you feel it. Which is really the ikr time that a marriage is built. There's one thing when everything's great and you're on some, honeymoon somewhere and it's gewaldic and everything's going great. And it's nice. You build great times. There's another thing exactly when there's challenge and you're showing loyalty through that it builds very, very deep bonds. So too with Hashem. Exactly when you're not feeling it is an element of malchus. An Eved, a servant to the king, doesn't tell the king, when I'm in the mood, then I'll serve you. That's not an Eved. An Eved, no matter what. I should think about Chazara like this. Who wants to do Chazara? Weiter! Chazara is exactly where you flex the muscles as an Eved. As an Eved Hashem. It's exactly those things that you don't want to do, but Hashem said, make sure you do it. Like the Gemara says, the person that learns and he doesn't do Chazara, it's like he planted his crops and he didn't harvest them. They grew, he didn't even harvest them. I don't want to say what the other Gemara says. Gets more intense. V'zeh b'chinas levana. And this is what it means, the moon. Ki ha-levana ein la'or ma'atzma. The levana does not have light to itself. Ki im ma'ashem mekabelis ma'ashemish. It has the light that it receives from the sun. The moon is a big gush of just earth that has no light. It's interesting that it literally has nothing. It's not like a light. There's nothing shining from it.
Just a rock.
Yeah. But you see light, there's light. You look at the moon, there's light. There's light. This is what it means, malchus. The leis le megar meklum. Leis le, it has nothing, megar me klum, has nothing to itself. Has no or. Ela mash mekabelis me'aches. The malchus, the levana, the moon, the nun, only has what it receives from the ches. Shehi bechinas chachma, bechinas shemesh kanir le'el. This is what it means that it receives from the ches. That's the chen. When the moon and the sun are working together, and you have the moon, so now you have the light of ches shining to the moon, and the moon is the nun, you have chen now, you have beauty. So really the way to get beauty back is through malchus, because it's taking the ches, all that great light, which is almost overwhelming unto itself. But when I live a life of malchus Shemayim, I make Hashem a home here, and I serve Hashem even when I'm not exactly in the mood. Hashem shines this light to me. I get this great light that shines to me in a way that I can receive it. That's the levana. That's important to note that we talk about in the Kiddush Levana, that in the days to come, that the Or Levana is going to be K'or HaChama, that the light of the moon is going to be like the light of the sun. That's when there's going to be no more split between Chochmah and Malchus. It's all going to be one thing. You're going to see the light of the Malchus filled with the same light of Chochmah. That the light of the moon is going to become powerful again. And this is, of course, very symbolic of one of the ideas that in Kabbalah, men represent the sun and women the moon. And then in the end of days, that the light of the moon is going to get strong and very powerful. We're going to see, so on the side of holiness, it means that women are going to become very, very filled with this great light. They're going to be very, very exalted. And with beauty and with wisdom. And on the side of unholiness is going to be not great things and manipulation and unhealthy control. But because we're getting towards the end of days, that the light of the Lavan is growing. And we're going to see less difference between the light of the Shemesh and the light of Lavan. For now, though, we're still connecting to the light of Lavan, which is Malchus. The idea in the time to come is that the Lavan is going to be included in the Shemesh. You're not going to see a difference. That the ore of the Lavan is going to be like the ore of the Chama. It's going to be one thing. There's going to be a unification. That husband and wife, that sun and moon are going to be unified as one. It's not going to be a separate thing. That's what it means. It's going to be or halavana ke or chama. That's one of the reasons why that in Kiddush Lavana we look at our tzitzis afterwards, because we want to get pleasure from the light, and that we're saying like, oh, of course we could check our tzitzis. It's like daytime, even though it's night. But we're saying that the or Lavana is going to be like day. So we look at our tzitzis to make sure that they're all tied properly. That it means that there's going to be such a bittul of the malchus, such a bittul of the nukva, of the isha, to all the oiris that are trying to come to her. And it's going to be a great unification. And that's what we want. Somebody was asking yesterday, they said, do the women feel oppressed? I said, somebody once asked my wife that, and she said, I don't want to sing in front of other men. I don't feel that that's part of my honor, my dignity. I feel more dignified to have a certain secret that doesn't just need to be spread to the whole world. And that's the idea, is that the Cham and Lavan are going to become so deeply unified that it's going to be just seamless. That we're going to see that husband and wife are going to support each other in the most wondrous ways, each one coming to their greatest level, in full unification as a team. V'nasa or Lavana ka or Cham, and we're going to see that day is going to come. A person who does not connect himself to the seichel and the chachma and the chiyas shebechol davar, he's looking at everything from a very superficial. Yeah, it's schnitzel day, once a week, schnitzel. What's Hashem telling you? That's looking at the seichel shebechol davar. Not looking at the seichel shebechol davar, just looking at everything in an external way. Basically, seeing the world through your five senses exclusively. So, who represents this? Who is the Rebbe of living an external life? Zeh bechinas Esav. This is Esav. Esav is the one that brought superficiality and made it famous. Esav is all about denying the seichel shebechol davar, denying that there's any meaning in all the details that are happening to you in your life. Everything is external. Esav, we know, is the father of the Western world. Just build. There was one of the tzaddikim, I think I might have mentioned this, that he was going on a fundraising trip to New York. He'd never been outside of Eretz Yisrael. He went to raise for the yeshiva. And when he was like, with the flight, and then they went to the car, and he's learning the whole time, and they opened the door for the first time in Manhattan. And the first time ever, he opens the door, and he looks up, And these are the first words the tzaddik says. He never saw such a thing. He spent his life teaching Torah. In 1 second, he looks at me and he says, they take Gashmias very seriously over here. Like mamish, like wow. Okay. Now you should know that Esav was supposed to team up with Yaakov. Could you imagine if all those high rises, if the Manhattan skyline was filled with Torah, was just pumping with yeshiva, if the stock market was like all that energy, all the beast, that beast was directed towards bringing God into the world, the power of Esav is unbelievable. And that's why we just have to harness Esav. He'll build up this world. But the problem is he builds it up just for itself, just for that and nothing else. It's a big problem.
For now.
For now, it's Hashem. He's going to do tshuva. We got a lot of kirov today.
Bro, isn't the ideal to be able to take all the things of this world and integrate it?
Yeah, that's called the seichel shebachol davar, to find...
It's just we can't because it's too powerful.
So generally, the direction that we'll go through is through malchus, is through mevatling ourselves. Hashem, I will not budge from Shulchan Aruch. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do. And when you start living your life through malchus, you'll start seeing the seichel shebachol davar. You'll see it in that direction. You'll see it through the moon. You'll see it that derech. To go around like Ichimayer and just see all the seichel shebachol davar mamish is very, very powerful. You're sitting on benches, you're seeing, aliyas neshamas and leaves. It's a very high level. But at least you should be looking for the seichel shebachol davar. And the derech in order to receive it is through malchus, is the levana, is that you make yourself into a moon and you say, Hashem, that I want to receive that light. I want to receive that light, and how do I do that? I hollow out my own unhealthy desires, and I realize that the only desire that I have is Ritzayineinu Lasei Ritzayinecha, and all I want to do is your Ratzah. That's it. Nothing else. Ritzayineinu Lasei Ritzayinecha. That's all I want to do. But Esav, he's the opposite of this. V'zeh b'chinas Esav, shebizeh sabachayra, that he rejects the firstborn. He spurns it. He sells it for a pot of lentils. K'moshe kosav, v'yivez Esav esabachayra. And he sold it after he came in from doing all those horrible averas on that day. And it was the day that Avraham Avinu was nifter. And he comes in and he just says, give me some of the red. And he trades eternal life for something of immediateness. It's interesting, the Zohar calls Esav a bal'an, a swallower. Someone that doesn't even chew his food. He just literally opens up his hatchet and he's bolea. It's just like, I don't know. Chewing is already, the Indian of chewing is brought down is that you're doing birurim, is that you're integrating, refining out godly sparks. You're thinking through the seichel shebachol davar. What's this all about? You're separating toiv from ra. A person who doesn't chew is very hard on the digestive system. Just pshat. You don't digest it properly. You don't integrate the nutrients and minerals. But Esav says, I don't have time for that. I just need to just ingest physicality. I don't know if he was talented at doing that. Yeah, just put it in me. Just inject me with it. Yeah, it's crazy. Sometimes when I was saying like these like coach buses, like the 70-seat coach buses. So I'll be at the front, like the rabbis are all sitting at the front, and I'll look back, especially at night, and all you see is like everyone like that light of darkness shining everyone's face. And then they have usually like the I call the umbilical cord is like coming down, like keeping the thing charged. You just hours just. Like, is there any human contact? Human beings here? No. So every so I was like, ha ha ha. That's sad. That's the world of Esav. is just a hollowing out of ruchnias, spirituality. It's very sad. That's bimavaza the b'chayra.
I want to say it was Ram Dass. I don't know. He was talking about the fact that if you were to, while you're like watching a show, focusing on how you feel, like internally, you'll have like this numb, like opium, like weak opium high, but like just numb and empty. And it was one of the things that like I'd be watching a show after a long period of time. I'd focus on myself and be like, oh, it's disgusting. I'd like turn off the show and just sit on the couch for like however long until I felt like a normal human being again.
It's very true. That's the whole point, is we don't focus on ourselves. He's trying to tell you to focus in on actually what's happening, whereas the shows just keep you distracted, just keep you numbed to the experience. So look what the Rebbeinu says. The Yivez Esav is HaBechayra, the Hainu HaSeichel, that he's chaylik on the Seichel Shebechol Davar Bechina, which Esav is all about, who's the Balavera, Lo Yachpoitz Ksil Bitvuna, Ki Imbis Galas Liboy. The Ksil, the fool, he's not looking for Tavuna, for thinking through things. Tavuna is like his boidanus. He imbis galas liboy. We're going to talk more about this inyan of his galas liboy. Everything about the malchus of Rishus, which is Esav, is all about his galas liboy. It's all about just what feels good now. It's all about seeing things in an external, five senses reality. What feels good right now. The taivas liboy, his galas liboy, means whatever my heart is just telling me to do. And it's so obvious, because when you stop yourself and you think, what feels better? What feels better? Doing what you feel like doing, or doing what's right?
What feels better?
What gives you a deeper sense of self-satisfaction?
Doing what's right.
And we all know that. It's a human experience. I feel like eating that chocolate bar. Or there's, let's say, something else. There's something unkosher, chas v'shalom. It's more sensitive, but even kids can get this. What is better? What makes you respect yourself when you look in the mirror? So you just like feel like doing, that's based galas liboy. I just do what I feel. Just what feels right. Everything is just the way you like it. Do what you feel. Just do it. And there's doctors that are telling people that, you have to do it. Just whatever you feel. Like and psychologists that actually think that this is the emes. Just whatever you feel. Just do whatever you feel. It's healthy to just anything you feel. You don't want to bottle it up. So if you just feel like it, just do whatever you want. And we say no. Ezo Gibor, HaKoivesh Es Yitzray, the person who is able to overcome his instincts and be bigger and do what's right, he feels so good, he feels so empowered. And we're not talking about stam, we're talking about a godly system of knowing what's right and living by it. So the opposite of that, of just doing whatever you feel, that's the world of Esav, who is mavaza the b'chayra. He says, I don't want to see the seichel shebechol davar. Don't talk to me about spirituality. Don't talk to me about a mission and a purpose behind things. We just build for building's sake and for gaiva and taiva and galas liboy. And he's never lo yachpois ksil b'tefuna. He's never thinking about things in a deep way. And this is bechinas malchus harisha. This is what it means that the evil kingdom, bechinas levana de sitra achra. This is called the moon of the dark side. The levana of the sitra achra. Sha'aleh nemar, that about that moon, it says later, the prophet Yeshayahu, the prophet Isaiah said about that moon, the moon of the dark side, v'chafra ha-levana. And the levana became deeply embarrassed. the moon is going to be, this is talking about Lasad Lava in the time to come, the Gemara says, that the moon is going to become embarrassed. What it means is those that attach themselves to the Malchus of Risha and to the world of Esav, of not looking for the Seichel B'chol Davar. So those people are going to be, sadly, there's going to be some very embarrassing reality, that they were running away from Hashem, and they were just doing everything bis galus liboy, just whatever they wanted. Just whatever you feel, do. Whereas the Malchus of Kedusha is bittul. Bittul. Hashem, what do you want me to do? Now this might be a chiddush for people, because we don't, many people didn't grow up like this. They didn't think this way, of giving themselves to Hashem and His Torah. But this is what it's all about. We should be Zoich HaMamish, that the Chen and the Chashivas, that the Ches should shine very, very brightly through the Malchus, through the Nun, Lifnei Shemesh Yinoin Shemai, that we're going to see that Yinon is Mashiach, the Mashiach is the Melech, Mashiach is going to shine and reflect the great light of the Shemesh. He's going to be so one with the Or of the Shemesh. And then the Chaim and the Chashivas is going to come back to Klal Yisrael. We're going to see tremendous beauty. And this happens through learning Torah, and specifically the Torah of the Seichel Shebechol Davar, of looking for Hashem in every single thing. And even if we're not able to find Hashem with that great light, that we do it through Malchus, through accepting, being Makabel Al Malchus Shemayim. We should be Zoich HaMamish to bring back that Or, and to see the great days with the Or Levana. The light of the moon is going to be once again reintegrated with the light of the sun. We should see that Esav should do tshuva shleima, and all of the chitzonius of this world should be reintegrated into panemius, and that we should take all these gewaldike, Manhattan skyline, and turn them into the most wonderful yeshivas, gewaldike yeshivas, and then all those yeshivas will come back once and for all to Eretz Yisrael with Mashiach Tzidkeinu v'mhir v'yimenu. Amen. Amen. Oyein shu yeyu, shein shu yeyu, shu yeyu la Rabbeinu shah v'kol gada. Ein shu yeyu, shu yeyu la Hai mitzvah gedai la liyad bezir la liyad bezir v'simchot David. Hey, I'm did it, la 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 ya la 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 I'm did it, la 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 it's a good la liya bezir liya bezir v'simchat David it's a good la liya bezir Liya bezira simchat David Rabbeinu shah v'kol gada ein shu yeyu Rabbeinu shah v'kol gada ein shu Shuviyah Baba Vaylam Klai Vitzagedai Liya Vizirga Liya Vizirga Vizirga Vitzagedai Liya Vizirga Vizirga Shkoach Yordania, great to have you here. Okay, Rabbi Isai. Kol Tuv. Shachris.